I see it.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Green Film Festival of San Francisco 2023. I'm Jason Wolos. I am one of the programmers here at SF Indie Fest, and this is the Q&A for what is the title of this Q&A, people? Warnings of Warming, environmental films, activist films about our current state of the planet, and we're very lucky to have many of the filmmakers here with us. Hey, filmmakers.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hi.
First of all, congratulations to you for not only submitting your film and getting to our film festival, but completing your film. Well done.
Yep.
And I'll start with Maria, since you're on the top of my corner. Briefly introduce yourself.
Hi, thanks for having us. My name is Marie. I'm the writer and director of the short film Susie and Jenny that you watched recently. And I am calling from LA, although I am half French, half Lebanese. And I have the pleasure of being in this meeting with the producer of the film, Juliette, as well as the lead actress, Anna Maria.
Let's see, Anna Maria, where are you? And Giulietta, hey, you two introduce yourself as well, since you're connected to that film. Anna Maria.
Hi, everyone.
Giulietta.
Oh. So I'm Juliette. I'm the producer of the movie. I'm in LA as well, but I'm French.
Good to have you here. Anne Marie. And wait, you're the actress, no?
Yes, yes. I'm thrilled to be here. I've never done one of these and it's super exciting. And thanks for inviting us.
We're excited to have you here and loved your movie. Erica, would you mind going next?
Sure. I'm Erica Bolstead, and I'm in Portland, Oregon, and my film is To Be Rich. And it is one thing that is not in the film that I thought I'd share is that it's connected to, it's kind of a companion film to a book I wrote that came out this year called Windfall.
Ah, all right. Well done. Congratulations. Am I going to say your name right? Katya? Katya?
Yes, well done, Jason. Yes, so happy to be here. Just like what Anna Maria said, it's the first one for me as well. So this is very exciting. So Katja Platte, that's my name. I'm here in my studio in Brooklyn, in New York. And my film is Las Nogas. It's a stop motion animated film, and it's the third in the trilogy.
Is that the set behind you?
Yes, yes, part of the set.
Right
Part
on.
of the set.
Great. And Miron, is that correct?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Miran Alon. I'm the writer, director of a short narrative film called Anxious. It's about a guy that's really worried about the climate, thinks the world is going to end. Yeah, and I'm calling from Puerto Rico. Really excited to be here.
Welcome. I felt like that was me. I'm sure a lot of people could relate. I watched that and like, I think I have that every day, those kind of thoughts. Thank you for joining us. Frank, how about you go next?
Hi there, I'm Frank Fazio from Boulder, Colorado, and I'm glad to be here and be surrounded by all these great filmmakers. My film is Common Thread.
Excellent. Well done. Good to have you, Frank. And
Thank
let's
you.
see, Robert, you're next on my screen.
Hi, I'm Robert Menifee. I'm in New Haven. Thank you for including me in choosing Climate Emergency, which is my film. I'm here with Melinda Tuhus, who was the organizer of the protests that I documented. And I was the cameraman, the drone pilot, the editor and producer and the director. And we had a budget of $0 and we did it over a period of years. And I think having a budget of $0 gave us a lot of freedom.
Yeah, you would think the opposite, but wow. I was already impressed with your film. Now I'm even more impressed with your multifaceted talents. Good to have you here. And Melinda, you're also associated with that film.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm in New Haven. I think Bob kind of said it all. We had a series of, I think, 4 protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline between fall of 2016 and January of 2017. And Bob documented every minute of every one and pulled it all together in 5 minutes, which was pretty impressive.
Yes. Wow. Well, thanks, guys. Again, congratulations on your accomplishment. I'll just throw this out there, and well, maybe no. I'll pick Maron. You're anxious, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's the inspiration.
You're anxious, yeah. Yeah, what is the inspiration for your film? How did that start?
Yeah, the majority of the film is a conversation between a husband and wife about, he's extremely worried about the climate and tries to plan ahead for all these end of the world scenarios, and his wife is like the opposite. She's so sure everything is going to be fine. So it's basically the reverse role of the conversations I have with my husband. I'm extremely worried and he thinks everything is going to be fine. So it's playing out of our conversation, and I think I just feel it so strongly, and my way of like process my feelings, my thoughts about this topic. Yeah, I worked through it in the film.
Well, let me ask this question for everybody real quick. Susie and Jenny, that's Marie, right? Why'd you make that film?
Well, to be honest, when I moved to the US 2 years ago, I realized how different the culture was. And I'm in California, so it's one of the good states, but how different the culture was towards climate change and how a lot of people behaved compared to what I've been used to in Europe and in France. And it drove me really mad. Sometimes it was at the register at the supermarket, seeing so much plastic over everything. Sometimes it was seeing that, is recycling really a thing? Is it really happening? It depends on the neighborhoods of LA. All of that just made me really, really mad. And eventually, the thought obviously crossed my mind. If these people had any idea the damage that they would do to the planet, at least maybe once they'll be dead, they'll be able to give back to the planet with their body being composted. It was a crazy thought that entered my mind. And that's how I came up with the idea of, it's a dark comedy, the film, and the idea of having someone killing the biggest polluters to give back to the planet what they took from it.
Yeah.
So that's how it came up, yeah.
And Marone and Maria, those are narratives, and yours is a narrative too, an animated narrative. What was the inspiration for your film? The rest of the filmmakers here are documentarians, so what was your inspiration, Katya?
Right. So Las Nogas is actually the final installment of a trilogy I've been working on for almost 13 years. So the same as Maron said, Marie, I think we're all in the same boat, this anxiety, how, how the world is going and what could be done. So it's actually a sci-fi, well, I call it an animated allegory to our times. It's set in the future where humans have fallen apart. And the core of it is like, we have to change. The human being has to change, to be less greedy, kinder. So that gave me the framework to create this universe with these characters. And we have a new, and how it could be better, what could be done. So it's really an animated allegory. And it's actually also the proof of concept for the future. I just want to continue, with that, with that stop motion animation, which I love. It's handcrafted. My background is actually visual art, so.
Yeah. Change is what needs to happen for sure. And then Erica, To Be Rich, you propose a new mapping system.
Yeah. So my book that I wrote, while I was going back and forth to North Dakota over a decade, I took a lot of photos initially, and then I started filming with the idea of making a short film that was kind of a companion to the book. But I didn't want to do like a book trailer kind of thing that was just an overview of the book. And I wanted to kind of really push the questions I ask toward the end of the book, which are about what we do with mineral rights, and perhaps maybe push viewers or give viewers a way of thinking about how they might be able to, if they do have mineral rights or if they have connection to fossil fuels, how they might be able to dispose of them or think about disposing of them, and think about a new way of mapping the earth that isn't as extractive, is really kind of what I was getting at in the film. I also really wanted to show people what that place looks like, and this was a part of the book describing it, etc. But really, until you see visually what what the oil fields look like, what North Dakota looks like, some of the beauty there and some of the ugliness of it as well, of the industrial impact of it. You know, I think that that makes it much more vivid to a lot of people, that this is a real place, that maybe the check that someone gets in the mail from an oil company for their mineral rights is, you know, has a connection to an actual place and to people and to a region.
Yeah, I loved also. Well, I loved your use of found footage, old photos, where you did your great grandmother invest in the oil rig? Is that what happened?
So she was a homesteader there,
Okay.
and she was a homesteader there in the early 1900s. And she didn't live there for very long because her husband committed her to the insane asylum. And that's where she lived the rest of her life. So the book goes way more into that than the
Yeah.
film does, because I really wanted the film to be about climate change.
Yeah.
Very, very
Well, and,
explicitly.
if I can interrupt too, I like that you suggested a new way of measuring wealth too, which I think maybe is a certain thing that might have to happen. But that, like, we don't have enough time for that. You know, because a new index of wealth is maybe necessary. What's really valuable are resources and not capitalistic items, right?
Exactly.
So Robert, Melinda, how'd your film come to be, and what needs to change?
Well, I was documenting all kinds of action in New Haven and New York, and so then I went through my old footage, and I was looking at what I'd done with Melinda and her organization, and I picked out of all the footage, I took all the speeches out, and I just went to the most dramatic parts and put it together. And then shortly after that, suddenly we had the smoke over New Haven from the climate, from the fires in Canada, the forest fires. And so I flew my drone over New Haven, and that really made the end of the film, because in the beginning of the film, everybody's acting like Melinda's nuts, crazy, we're all crazy, and we're just bothering them, we're just being annoying, and why won't we stop and go away? And I think, you know, I was thinking it's like Cassandra in Greek mythology, where she was given the gift of prophecy, but she was given also a curse where nobody would believe her. So she knew the truth, and she would say it, and she would yell it out, and nobody would believe her. And that's what it felt like in the protests that were going on in the bank to stop the funding of fossil fuels to save the planet. It seemed like, why don't you go away? And then when the smoke appeared over New Haven, that was the answer. That was just in the spring, and this is the truth. You know, this is not something that we're making up for the fun of it. We're trying to make people realize. It's hard to realize sometimes. It seems unbelievable that we're on you know, this precipice. And I think that the United Nations, the man said today that we have opened up the gates of hell. That we're you know, it's kind of that's the truth.
So,
you know?
so why aren't we protesting more, Melinda? Why aren't we following your lead, man? You're inspirational, and at the same time, as a person who believes and agrees, probably has similar interests of all of you, protesting and protesters are nuts, but you got to be nuts. You know what I mean? I think that's the change that needs to happen, Melinda.
Yeah,
Why
well,
aren't we protesting right now? Why aren't we getting out there?
we are. Some of us are. But your question is one I think about all the time, is like, people always say to me how much they respect me and think I'm so wonderful and I'm so brave and I do all these things. And I'm trying to figure out how to invite them to get on board. So that is the question. But I also do think that more people are getting on board. It's just, you know, it's slow. People have to get over certain fears of, you know, being criticized or ostracized, or, you know, facing legal ramifications. But I do think, you know, if we really believe that we're in a total crisis and on the precipice of total catastrophe. So I was just finishing reading a book where somebody said, well, if your house is on fire, you wouldn't say I'll have to deal with that later.
Right.
So we think if people really understood it, maybe more, I mean, I'm sure more people would be out there, but it's happening. It's just too slow to
Yeah.
Melinda and I are both in our 70s, and also Norman was the other organizer. So we're kind of like the rocking chair rebellion. I'm 74, and Melinda's 70 something.
That's great. Good note. There's never too late to start. Although I do think, my opinion, the answer is in our next generation, our youth, as Frank documented, and that's why I love the film so much, just because you had young voices, and hoping not only just all generations will see your film.
In my film, I had the line from Dylan Thomas, "Do not go gently into that good night," which is about death, because he wrote it for his father who was dying.
Yeah.
And so we being in our 70s, maybe we can look at death, because it's there somewhere, who knows how far away. But then again, the whole planet's on the verge of dying. So do not go gently into that good night, rage against the dying of the light. That was I put that in because of that. And really, young people have more to lose because they have a longer life ahead of them.
Right.
And if they lose that, they've got
Yeah, well, let's have Frank speak to that, because he has the young people from all around the world.
Yes.
How did the film come to be? And just speak about your movie.
Yeah. My inspiration came from what my last 3 films and my last 5 years, I've been working on films that are global, meaning that I realized, and this happened during COVID, that what impact us here impact us around the world. And that was the seed that was planted for me. And what I realized is that no matter the crisis, whether it's COVID, whether it's climate change, whether it's indifferences, worldwide, if it's impacting us as adults, it's impacting our children, and we need to listen to them. So my concept was, and it's been working wonderful for the last 5-6 years, just like my new film I'm working on, is I want voices from around the world to speak about what's happening. And I want those voices not to be activists or movie stars. I want real people with real hearts and real ideas coming through. And when I do that, what I find is, when I'm working with filmmakers around the world, I'll always say, give these children time. When you ask them this question I've posed, a couple things. I don't want their parents in the eyesight of them. I want them there, of course, and if they have a problem with the question, I want them behind them, because what I want to happen is, when I ask that question, it's unfiltered. I want them to not look over and go, I hope I'm saying the right thing. I want them to say what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And believe me, climate change was a good example. A lot of them, they were anywhere from 8 years old to maybe 14. They were speaking about how concerned and how worried about their future, the planet. And so that became, I guess, my passion now is, I've done so many films in the States, but now these global films, and I've become so, I don't know, maybe the way I work and the way I do it, respected with filmmakers around the world. All I have to do is say, I have a new idea. Now my new film is about age integration between the young and the old. And I've got 10 new countries who are wrapped up in it, called Bridge of Curiosity. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And I think the thing is that all these films are great. And I think that all I can say is I found a little silver lining, I guess, in a time when COVID was happening, when I didn't have any filmmakers available to me. There was nobody. And I said, well, how am I going to make a film? And I said, well, maybe I should just blast out to the world. Here's my idea, and let's see what happens. And within 2 weeks, I had 10 countries going, I love the concept. I love the idea. Send me what you got. Let's do this. So
fantastic.
So that's not boasting or bragging. That's just being proud.
Yeah, no, it's a nice accomplishment.
Martha.
Sure. Yeah. Well, hey, Julieta, let's get you in here. Since, he's talking about younger generations, your film involves an older lady dealing with the younger generation, right? Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah, exactly.
But that younger person, they don't care.
Yeah, it's true, but it's like, as we were saying, it's complicated because there's like trends and things in like the country that offers so many things to young generation, and they can't really see what's happening always. So I think for me, it's not only being on like, we have to work all together, like, because I think younger generation are not responsible for what, like, the state of the earth right now. So I think it's kind of easy to say it's on them when they're not responsible for it. So I think it's a global work, and I think older generation have to show them the path and like what to do to like protect earth, and not like push them into this like consumption, because consumption is like a thing from like before. And so I think it's just like a global responsibility for every generations.
I agree. We're all involved. We're all in the same house here. We only got one planet. And so, Frank, let me continue with you, and other people answer this question too. So how do your films make a difference? How do we get these films out here besides just film festivals? I mean, I think environmental films are super important to get the message out there. How do we get these films out there so people actually then take action?
Yeah, I think we as filmmakers and people who are passionate about what needs to change, we keep on the more we can, thanks to people like yourself who get these films out and people see them. In documentaries, especially documentaries, I have a lot of people who never watched documentaries before, but now they're a fan base who go, until watching your film, I really never thought about these things. Now I think about them. Now I look and I start really thinking inside, what am I actually doing to help? And I said, well, right there, you already are starting to help because you're thinking about it. So take that thought and put it into action. And that's what I would say. And I think the reward is when I hear people, and I get emails from around the world. When I did the COVID one, I had somebody in Poland who said, you know what? I was having a really difficult time figuring out how I'm going to speak to my grandkids about COVID. And after I watched your film, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to talk to them. So yeah, I think it's something that we have to continue doing. Everybody knows the world is pretty chaotic, but I have to tell you, there is a whole group of people who want to see the difference, who are trying to make the difference. They're just not maybe noticed as it'll happen.
Yeah,
we have to make it happen.
Yeah, we do. Speak to this question too, because I think animation is a way that a medium that could reach out to younger audiences to, make a change or take action or live differently. I mean, I can tell you, as a screener watching, my life is now different being a programmer for the Green Film Festival. I can't walk away from like talking to you guys there without now maybe recycling or turning something off or turning the lights off. You know what I mean? So it does make an effect on people.
That's awesome. Yes. And I was just thinking as, Frank was talking, starting the conversation, and you would think that a film about the environment is more like documentary. Mine isn't. Mine is actually, it's futuristic. It's like, it's stop motion, but I think that's the point, that we're all reaching out through different ways. And I think what's very important is what we do, we have to love it. The passion that comes through your film, it's not just what it's about, but that passion to doing it, that's what's spreading. I mean, that's kind of like the feedback that I'm getting. And also it's teamwork. It's teamwork. And the characters in my film, they're animals. But that's another, there's so many layers, and another really important point, especially when Robert was talking, Melinda, and the fires in Canada. unfortunately, as humans, we only start really doing something when it affects us here personally. So in my film, that's sort of like the core of it. The new humans have to give their, I'm giving away a little bit, but so what? They have seen the film already. They're actually giving their blood. Their blood is the key to make it rain again. You know, and it's ludicrous, it's imagination, but it's a symbol. It's only we have to see, and when we sacrifice, it doesn't have to go that way. This is science fiction. Then
Erica,
things change.
Yeah, thank you. Erica, have you changed after making your project, your film? Knowing your family history and
Absolutely. It was, this was a personal project, and this was, based on a book that it's narrative nonfiction, and deeply reported because I'm a journalist, but it is also a memoir. And it absolutely changed me. It changed how I think about how one person can have an impact. I think a lot of people out there, you asked like what people, maybe what we could do to spread the word about our films or about the messages even in our work. And I think a lot of people are looking for that thing that they can do, beyond maybe just the regular stuff like recycling or, driving a more fuel efficient car or something like that, or driving less. And I really think that this is something that people can do if they have a connection to fossil fuels, is they can get rid of that connection. They can find a way to make that connection difficult for the fossil fuel companies. And so I was looking for a way that I could do something that took action, and I'm still working on it. And I hope that other people are inspired when they see it to think, oh, actually, I do have a connection to some of these things that I didn't really think about, and I can do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I more times than not, I feel like the guy in Anxious, where, and forgive my French, I say we're fucked. And not to be negative, but then I can't help myself and I do take action, or I look how to ride my bike instead of drive my car. But we need to do more. So what were some of the challenges? I'll ask everybody this. Marie, you're first. You're on the top corner for me here. What was the challenge of making your movie?
The first idea was to make a longer version of it, where the character of Susie is already an established killer, and she's actually looking for someone to carry on her legacy once she'll be gone. So there is, again, this intergenerational element into the mix of the story, but they're helping each other out this time instead of just guilt tripping the younger ones. It was tough for me to find an interesting proof of concept for that longer version, something that would be short, that would be hard hitting, that would still deliver the message and keep that tone, that like light, dark comedy tone.
Right.
It was hard for me to do that because I don't think when we have something that feels complete, it's harder to make it shorter and tighter. That's why I thought, why not present the first person she killed and what triggered her in the first place to start doing that. And also, obviously, we didn't have a whole lot of time for this because this was my thesis film from UCLA. And as we were students in the US, we had a teeny tiny budget. It was a $700, Juliette will confirm, but I think it was a $700
That's a no budget.
Yeah, that's a no budget. That's basically feeding people and renting a couple of stands. Yeah.
Well done. You accomplished it. It's a tight little dark comedy.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this question was inspired by you, Erica. The challenge question, was it challenging making your movie because of the personal history, or in addition to what kind of filmmaker challenges did you have?
I had some challenges in that I had written a book, and so I was trying to kind of sum up the message of, like 80,000 words.
So adapting it was tough.
Yeah, adapting.
But I was actually thinking, like, learning about like your great grandma was put in an asylum, or then learning that she's connected to oil, and just kind of those kind of legacy questions too.
Right. Yeah. Well, one of the great things about filming in North Dakota so much is that I went back and forth quite a bit. And there's just a lot of what they call like windshield time in North Dakota, where you're driving a lot. And so I actually had a lot of time to think about things and think about like how I wanted the film to look and to really like actually take in the visuals of the place. And so I think that that was helpful in, you know, having that place as inspiration. But yeah, it was a challenging personal story, and taking that personal story and putting it on the screen was also difficult because you know, I was a little bit uncomfortable with kind of being the face in the in the film. That's not my normal. I'm a writer, I'm a journalist, I'm usually behind the scenes. And so that was like I had a tough time sometimes with that, like being the person who
A
was
little awkward, yeah.
Yeah.
Self-conscious, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anna Marie, how about you? What were challenges making your movie?
Actually, Marie and Juliet made it really easy to make the movie.
Yeah.
So I didn't personally feel any challenges, but
It
as
wasn't
an
hard getting
actor,
into the killer mode.
oh no, that was easy. I think,
I
you
was
know,
working with the other actress.
oh, really great. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, they hired really great cast and crew. I think the thing that made it easy to be Susie is that I think everyone feels that kind of rage when they see some people polluting and being mindless. And but we
I'm
don't
laughing
think,
because I remember that experience. I get, how many times do we get frustrated when we see someone on the phone just because they're inconsiderate or oblivious, or and we use the phone too, but then we look at someone, we judge them and go, pay attention.
right, right. And we feel something deep inside, but we never really act on it. I mean, we might act a little bit in our lives, but we don't think to go outside of ourselves.
Yeah, not
We're
to that
so caught
extreme of
up
the
in
movie.
this
Yeah,
crazy
no,
world. Sorry?
not to that extreme in your movie.
No, but not to, yeah, not to Susie's extreme, but I think people can relate to wanting to do something like that. So, yeah.
So I'm going to ask this question to everybody. I'll just jump around. Melinda, challenges of protesting. Well, that's probably a long answer. What are the challenges of being documented for this film?
Well, I didn't even notice Bob most of the time, which I think is a testament to his ability to just be there like the fly on the wall. And yeah, I actually I didn't have any idea that I was being filmed as much as I was. So
Well, good. Well, nice. And Robert, any challenges
Well, I
in
like to
particular?
go out and collect footage, and I don't know what it's going to do. I'm kind of discovering what the film is about as I'm shooting, and then I discover what it's about again when I edit. And I don't have a narration because I'm not a writer really. I'm just a filmmaker with the hands on the camera, and so out of all of that stuff, I have to find words and images that will tell a story, and it's not a story I'm going to write. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
if it's hard to find it sometimes, and I also want to make it very tight. If I put them on YouTube, and if I feel like if I don't have it tight, I'm going to lose my audience. And the other things on YouTube, like they have TD Bank. If you Google TD Bank or YouTube climate emergency or whatever, you will find their green their green washing stuff where they have children playing by a stream, and it shows how TD Bank cares about the environment and that stuff. So I'm kind of like I'm trying to oppose that and trying to add to the zeitgeist of what's out there on the the World Wide Web of what the truth is, and hopefully some people will look at it.
Yeah, I noticed greenwashing is prevalent in many media. Katja, I can imagine the challenges of making an animation, but share some.
Yes, I mean, the whole film took 5 years to
Wow.
make.
Oh, wow.
2019, I wrote the script. That took a while, and then I'm also the production designer. I create everything. During COVID, that's what I did. Just create all the sets and teaching myself how to do the invisible walls. And so it's like there's always one challenge after the other, and then the puppets and then the filming itself was 15 months. But this time I was smarter. I got an assistant assistant director. And she was just awesome. And she would just come in once a week, but just bringing in that mind and, looking at the script, say, Katja, I don't want to interfere with how you do it. You're chronological. But if you have all of this happening in this scene and it happens a few more, why don't we do all of these scenes first? And I was like, duh, yes, why didn't I think of it?
Filmmaking 101.
So, yes, so exactly, and so just one thing after the other, because you also have a personal relationship with your puppets, and that comes into play. But I think that's what at the end makes it so wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. The rewards. Giulietta, any challenges?
For me, it's like, of course, budget, as we talked already, but for me, it was the message. I was afraid, as like probably Miran can relate, like I don't want to show things and people start stressing out for a story. So that's why we're with Marie's idea. I liked it because it was fun and we kind of like exaggerated everything, and that was my challenge. I don't want people to watch it and being like, oh my god, we're all gonna die. And it's like, so yeah, for me that was like a story challenge.
Yeah, that's a fine line. You guys did well.
I was gonna say that I think one of the challenges of an environmental film is for it to find an audience, because the topic is going to be a bummer and people don't necessarily want to see it. So you need to try to find a way to tell the story in a way that they stay engaged, and hopefully it like moves them in some way.
It's a tiny
but
line.
Keep
like,
watching.
You said it. Yeah. We all should be watching these films as opposed to garbage, that is mindless. Not that you shouldn't be entertained once in a while, but we need to see these movies that you guys are making. Frank, a challenge. What was your challenge? Just during COVID or editing?
Yeah, the challenge was COVID, but mainly for me was when you're working with filmmakers around the world, it could be any time of the day or night that you have to either Zoom in, log in, or go, okay. And I did a lot of venting because a lot of filmmakers thought they wanted to be involved, but when they found out what's involved and stuff, they would say, well, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this. And most of the time, the challenges for me was just that I was constantly, my wife would laugh because pretty much any time of the day I would go, hey Siri, what time is it in India? Or what time is it, because I'm trying to think, well, I've got to compose this thing I need to send out. What's the point of doing it now if it's like 3 a.m, they're sleeping, So yeah, all those things. And the other challenge for me was really just, I think a few people touched on that is, I remember one of the filmmakers, when I was doing my COVID film, I was getting all this footage in, we were doing all this work, and they were interviews and questions, and he said, I have an idea how I think this film should work. And at that point, I didn't even have an idea, but I didn't tell him that. And so 2 weeks later, I finally go, well, Perrault, I'm curious, what's your idea? And he says, well, after I thought about it, I don't have a fucking clue, And it made me realize that, when you're a filmmaker and you're doing all this stuff, is getting all that footage in and not having a cast and crew in front of you and stuff, is to weave together that narrative, that footage, some speakers, a soundtrack. It requires a lot of time and thought that you have to put into it. And that's why usually.
Yeah, especially with documentary, like you get all the footage and then you got to find the story after the fact. Well,
connection. Please try again.
Well, you guys all met your challenges and you made wonderful films. Any short, brief parting words of hope from any of you? Anybody want to add anything before we say goodbye? Are we doomed?
No.
Oh, good.
No.
I guess I shouldn't part with that question. That's setting up for.
Think about it when you were 20 years old or 30 years old, and you would be sitting around drinking with your buddies or your friends and say, I doubt if I'll see 30. And then you saw 30, then you saw 40, then you saw 50. Well, it's going to be a challenge, but there will be a world.
Yeah, there will. I agree. Melinda, you were saying something as well.
Yeah, just wanted to say that a lot of the elders who are working on climate issues are working directly with wonderful young people who are springing
Exactly.
up all over the place from like, elementary school on up. And so we don't see ourselves as separate. We see ourselves as a group of people who, because of where we are in our lives, and we don't have to worry about losing a job or, a lot of other things that young people have to worry about, we can take risks that they really, they can take if they want to, but it's much bigger risk for them. And so, we can all do whatever works best for our stage in life. And some of my very dearest friends are much younger than I am.
Yeah. And at this point, the risks are well worth it. We need to save the planet, take care of her. And you guys are helping us do that and get the message out. So congrats to all of you once again for getting in our festival and for making your wonderful little movies.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jason.
And I wish I had time to speak to all of you again. I hope to meet you in person someday. In the meanwhile, keep on keeping on and keep in touch.
Thank
All right,
you.
everybody, that's the end of this
Thank you so
Q&A
much.
for Warnings on Warming. Please check out these great films if you haven't yet. And thanks for watching. Check out more information at sfindie.com. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.